I stand frozen in my Boston apartment, surrounded by wedding invitation samples in various shades of cream and ivory, as my father's words echo through the phone. "I can't make it on time, Evelyn. I won't be able to walk you down the aisle." The elegant calligraphy samples slip from my fingers, scattering across my grandmother's antique oak table. Afternoon sunlight streams through the bay windows, catching dust motes that seem to hang suspended in time, just like my breath. "What do you mean?" My voice sounds strange to my own ears, hollow and distant. "The ceremony starts at 4. You said you'd be there by noon." Dad clears his throat, that familiar sound that always precedes uncomfortable truths. "Nadine's career celebration got moved up. You know how important this is for her? The biggest listing she's ever handled." I press my palm against the cool surface of the table to steady myself. Behind me, the grandfather clock that belonged to Mom ticks relentlessly, marking each second of this betrayal with mechanical precision. "The wedding is in 14 days, Dad." I struggle to keep my voice even. "We've had this date set for 9 months. "I know, sweetheart, but Nadine couldn't control the timing. Her broker insisted on this date. I'll try to make it to the reception." A tear splashes onto Mom's handkerchief, the pale blue one with her initials that I'd planned to wrap around my bouquet. Something old, something blue. My fingers tremble as I trace the delicate embroidery. "But you promised." The words catch in my throat. I look up at the family photos lining my wall, Dad beaming proudly at my college graduation, arms wrapped around both his daughters, the 3 of us at the lake house the summer after Mom died. Me at 13, still raw with grief, and Nadine at 19, already positioning herself as the lady of the house. "Things change, Evelyn. You understand, don't you?" His voice takes on that placating tone he uses when he expects me to fold, to accommodate, to understand, always understand. 9 months earlier, we'd sat around the cherrywood table in his traditional New England home, the autumn light turning the leaves outside to fire. Colin had squeezed my hand under the table as I announced our July wedding date. "July 20th, I'd said, watching Dad's face for his reaction. His eyes had lit up, crinkling at the corners the way they used to when Mom was alive. Perfect timing. The garden will be in full bloom. He'd raised his glass of Cabernet, his favorite Sunday dinner ritual. "I've been waiting for this day since you were born, Evelyn. Nothing could keep me from walking my little girl down the aisle." I'd believed him. Despite everything, despite the countless disappointments, I'd believed him. The wedding countdown calendar on my refrigerator catches my eye, 14 days marked with a red heart. 14 days until I'm supposed to walk toward Colin on my father's arm. "Dad," I whisper, "please don't do this." There's a pause, and for one heartbeat, I think he might reconsider. Then I hear Nadine's voice in the background, sharp and insistent. "I've got to go, honey. We'll talk later." The line goes dead. I sink into the window seat, clutching Mom's handkerchief to my chest. The wedding planner's folder lies open on the coffee table, the schedule meticulously outlined in my neat handwriting. Father and bride arrive at 3:30. Procession begins at 4. The first signs had appeared 3 months ago. Nadine declined to be a bridesmaid, citing her demanding real estate career. Dad's concerned frown when he mentioned the dates might conflict with something important for Nadine. The way my sister had looked at me across the dinner table when I reminded everyone about the July date, that slight curl of her lip that nobody else ever seemed to notice. "I tried to reschedule," she'd said, examining her manicured nails. "But you know how these things are. The client sets the timeline." The evening sky outside turns dusky pink as I sit motionless by the window. When Colin finds me, I'm still there, the family Bible open on my lap to the passage about honor and family that Mom used to read to us on Sundays. "Evelyn?" Colin kneels beside me, his engineer's hands steady as they cover mine. "What happened?" "Dad's not coming." The words taste bitter. Not until after the ceremony, anyway. Nadine's career celebration takes priority. Colin's jaw tightens, but he says nothing, just wraps his arms around me. "Some traditions can't be saved," I say quietly, looking at our reflection in the darkening window glass. "But we have guests coming from 4 states. We have the church. We have each other." Colin nods, pressing his lips to my temple. "We do." I close the Bible, my decision forming like a crystal in clear water. Dad and Nadine have made their choice. Now it's time for me to make mine. Later that day, the phone vibrates against my kitchen counter. Miles's name lighting up the screen. I hesitate before answering, not quite ready for another sympathetic voice telling me everything will be okay. Evelyn? It's your cousin Miles. His voice carries the same measured cadence he's had since returning from Vietnam decades ago. Got a minute to talk? Of course. I cradle the phone between ear and shoulder, continuing to sort through RSVP cards on my dining table. Sunlight streams through the windows, illuminating the growing pile of acceptances from people who expect to see a traditional father-daughter procession. I need to tell you something, and you won't like it. Miles pauses, and I hear the creak of his old porch swing in the background. Been doing some checking. Nadine scheduled her event deliberately. My hand freezes over an RSVP card. What do you mean? I talked to her broker yesterday at the VFW hall. Man didn't know a thing about any career celebration on the 20th. Miles's voice hardens. When I mentioned it was your wedding day, he looked mighty confused. The RSVP card crumples in my suddenly tight grip. Are you sure? I fought for this country, and I won't stand by while family does this to family, Miles says, his voice carrying the quiet authority that comes from a lifetime of standing firm. Got the proof right here. Text messages from her assistant confirming she picked the date herself, after your invitations went out. A memory surfaces, unbidden. My National Computer Science Scholarship ceremony during senior year. The empty chair where Dad should have been. Me in my best dress, scanning the audience repeatedly, certain he was just running late. That night, I'd confronted him. Why didn't you come? Dad had looked genuinely confused. Evie, Nadine told me you specifically asked me not to attend, said you were nervous about me watching. I'd stood frozen in our living room, words failing me as Nadine brushed past, 22 and elegant in her business clothes. Oh, Evelyn, don't be dramatic. You told me yourself you didn't want the pressure of Dad watching. The pattern stretched back to when Mom died. I was 13, Nadine 19. While I struggled with grief, she slipped effortlessly into the role of lady of the house, cooking Dad's favorite meals, managing household affairs, creating a narrative where I was always the difficult one, the emotional one, the one who needed protection from her own feelings. And Dad, he'd chosen the easier path. Believing Nadine meant not confronting the broken pieces of our family after Mom's death, I returned to the present, Miles still waiting patiently on the line. She's done this before. I whisper, the truth settling heavily on my shoulders. Figured as much, Miles says. What do you want to do with this information? Before I can answer, there's a knock at my door. Through the peephole, I see Colin's Uncle Silas, distinguished with his silver hair and kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. Miles, can I call you back? Someone's here. After ending the call, I open the door to find Silas holding a small bouquet of garden flowers and a concerned smile. Colin mentioned what happened, he says, his professor's voice gentle. May I come in? I lead him to the kitchen where sunlight warms the worn oak table. Silas settles into a chair, placing the flowers in a water glass I offer. When I was 22, he begins. My father didn't attend my college graduation, said it wasn't important enough to miss a golf tournament. Silas runs a weathered finger along the wood grain of the table. I waited at that ceremony, certain he'd appear at the last minute. I pour coffee into Mom's old china cups. What did you do? Learned something I've carried for 50 years. Silas accepts the coffee with a nod of thanks. Family isn't always blood. Sometimes it's who shows up. The truth of his words settles around us like dust motes in the afternoon light. I had my mother's brother stand in his place when they called my name. Silas continues. Never regretted it for a moment. I stare at the pile of wedding invitations. 120 guests from 4 states. Church members, longtime friends, all expecting to see me walk down the aisle on my father's arm. It's not just the ceremony, I say quietly. It's everything that comes with it. The father-daughter dance, the blessing before dinner, the empty chair at the head table. And the whispers, Silas acknowledges, people wondering why Calvin Mercer isn't walking his daughter down the aisle. I nod, throat tight. May I share something else I've learned? Silas asks, his eyes kind behind his glasses. Tradition is meant to honor relationships that matter, not preserve appearances that don't. We sit in comfortable silence as the grandfather clock in the hall marks the passage of time. Outside, Birds visit the feeder hanging from my balcony. The world continues, indifferent to my shattered expectations. Uncle Silas, I say finally, the words forming before I fully realize I've made a decision. Would you consider? I mean, if it's not too much to ask. His eyes meet mine, steady and understanding. Would you walk me down the aisle? The question hangs between us, fragile and hopeful. Silas's eyes fill with tears, his coffee forgotten. It would be the greatest honor of my life. For the first time since Dad's call, I feel something lift from my shoulders. Not everything the hurt remains, the anger too, but enough to breathe more freely. You're sure? I ask. Silas reaches across the table, his hand covering mine. I've known you since you were 17, when you first started dating Colin. I've watched you grow into an extraordinary woman. This isn't a consolation prize, Evelyn. This is a privilege. Later, as Silas prepares to leave, he pauses at the door. Your mother would be proud of you today. The words catch me off guard, bringing fresh tears. How do you know? I ask. Because I'm proud of you, he says simply. And anyone with sense would be. After he leaves, I return to the table where my phone sits beside the scattered wedding preparations. Miles's revelation about Nadine. Silas's offer to stand in Dad's place. Two paths stretching before me, one clinging to what should have been, one accepting what island I pick up the phone and dial Miles's number. Something has shifted within me. The wedding will proceed in 14 days, but now, for the first time, I'm the one choosing what family truly means. My phone buzzes against the kitchen counter at 6:15 a.m. The next morning, 13 days before the wedding. The sound feels like a wasp trapped under glass. I know who it is before I look. Good luck. I'll try to make it to the reception after 7. Dad's text glows cold and impersonal on the screen. No, I'm sorry. No explanation. Just clinical information delivered before dawn, as if diminishing my wedding to an appointment he might squeeze in after more important matters. I set the phone down without responding. Colin sleeps in the bedroom, his breathing steady through the partially open door. On our refrigerator, wedding invitations sent to 120 guests mock me with their elegant promise of traditional ceremony. By afternoon, my cousin Margaret calls, her voice unnaturally careful. Evelyn, honey, I just got off the phone with your sister. She mentioned you're having family troubles. My stomach tightens. What exactly did Nadine say? A pause. That you're being unreasonable about the timing. That Calvin is heartbroken you won't adjust the ceremony time to accommodate him. I press my palm against the cool countertop, steadying myself. Did she mention that Dad agreed to this date 9 months ago? Or that her career celebration was scheduled only after our invitations went out? Another pause. Oh, no, she didn't mention that part. The calls continue throughout the day. Aunt Patricia, Uncle James, even my mother's childhood friend Eleanor, who hasn't spoken to me since the funeral. By evening, my church friends exchange concerned glances during choir practice. Pastor Wilson pulls me aside, his weathered face creased with worry. People are talking, Evelyn. You know how this town works. I nod, swallowing the knot in my throat. In a community where 3 generations attend the same church, rumors spread faster than summer thunderstorms. The next morning, I drive to the historic Victorian on Maple Street, where Uncle Silas lives alone with his books and memories. The old professor opens his door before I knock, as if he's been waiting. Come in, my dear. The kettle just boiled. His study smells of leather and pipe tobacco, though he gave up smoking years ago. Afternoon sunlight filters through stained glass panels, casting rainbow patterns across floor-to-ceiling bookshelves. Colin told me what happened, he says, pouring tea into delicate china cups that belonged to his late wife. I'm deeply sorry. I accept the cup, warming my hands around it. I don't know what to do, Silas. Dad's making me the villain in his story. Silas settles into his worn leather chair, his movements deliberate. You know, I've spent 50 years studying family histories, the ones in these books. He gestures to the shelves, and my own. He sips his tea, eyes distant with memory. When my father refused to attend my college graduation because my chosen field wasn't practical enough, I thought my family tree was permanently damaged. What happened? I ask. I discovered something profound. Sometimes the strongest family trees are the ones we graft ourselves. His blue eyes, still sharp despite his 76 years, Focus on me. Biology provides roots, Evelyn, but it doesn't dictate who nurtures our growth. Something shifts inside me, like a locked door finally opening. That evening, I sit on the porch swing of my childhood home, phone pressed to my ear. The maple trees cast long shadows across the lawn as the sun dips toward the horizon. Dad, I need to understand. Why can't you be there before the ceremony? My voice sounds different, steady, certain. Evelyn, you know about family obligations. It's complicated with Nadine's event. It's not complicated, Dad. It's a choice. Silence stretches between us, broken only by the creak of the swing chains. I've always been there for you, he says finally, defensiveness edging his tone. Not always, I reply softly. Not when it mattered most. The screen door closes behind me with a gentle click as I walk away, leaving expectations on the porch. Colin takes 3 days off from his engineering firm to help with rearrangements. His mother Dorothy arrives with handmade table runners and fresh flowers from her garden. We'll make this perfect, she says, squeezing my hand. Family shows up. Church friends organize additional help with the reception. My Aunt Meredith sends a package containing my mother's favorite brooch, a silver sunburst with a pearl center. She would have wanted you to wear this, the note reads. Some traditions survive despite everything. I walk into the church office 3 days later, revised wedding program in hand. Mrs. Reynolds, the longtime secretary, glances up from her computer. I need to make a change, I say, sliding the paper across her desk. Under father of the bride, please replace Calvin Mercer with Uncle Silas Bennett. She studies my face, then nods without comment. Her printer hums to life, producing the updated program with its elegant script. The coordinator will need to adjust the seating chart, she says, her kind eyes meeting mine. Do you want me to tell her? No, I answer. I'll do it myself. The words feel powerful on my tongue, a declaration of agency, not defeat. The evening before the wedding, I am fully organized with the people who actually care about me, and I don't need my family any longer. That night, a knock at my apartment door revealed Silas standing in the hallway, a small velvet box in his weathered hands. May I come in? He asks. He settles onto my sofa, opening the box to reveal a strand of pearls nestled against dark blue velvet. My mother wore this on her wedding day in 1951, he says. Elizabeth wore them when we married in 72. They've waited in my drawer since she passed. His voice catches. She'd want you to have them now. As he fastens the cool pearls around my neck, I catch our reflection in the mirror, his silver hair and lined face next to my youth, connected by something deeper than blood. Later that night, Cousin Miles arrives, his military posture unchanged despite his 70 years. He pulls a folder from his jacket. Evidence? He says simply. Nadine's career celebration is just drinks with friends, and here, he points to a series of text messages. She specifically told Calvin not to leave before 7. I study the documents, methodically organized with timestamps and notes. What do you want me to do with this? Miles asks. I consider the approaching day, the pearls resting against my collarbone, the chosen family gathering to stand beside me. Use it only if necessary. I decide. This is about healing, not hurting. Miles nods, understanding in his eyes. Sometimes the best revenge is living well. I place my hand over his. Thank you for being the family who shows up. That night, I sleep peacefully for the first time in weeks, no longer waiting for approval from those unwilling to give it. Tomorrow, I'll walk down the aisle with someone who chose to be there, a realization both bitter and surprisingly sweet. Family, I've learned, isn't always who you're born to. Sometimes, it's who appears when everyone else walks away. The next day, the morning light filters through stained glass windows, painting rainbow patterns across the church's preparation room. I stand before the antique full-length mirror, watching as Dorothy adjusts the back of my wedding dress. Her weathered hands move with surprising dexterity, securing each tiny pearl button with care. Almost perfect, she murmurs, her silver hair catching the light as she steps back to assess her work. The pearl necklace Silas gave me rests cool against my skin, catching sunbeams and throwing tiny prisms across the ivory lace of my bodice. I touch it gently, drawing strength from its solid presence. My phone buzzes on the vanity table. I meet Dorothy's eyes in the mirror. She nods, retrieving it while I remain still. It's from your father, she says, her voice carefully neutral. Still at Nadine's. Running late. I take a deep breath, feeling my ribs expand against the structured bodice. How unexpected. Dorothy's lined face softens with understanding. She sets the phone face down and returns to her task, a silent act of protection I appreciate more than words can express. "You look exactly like your mother did," she whispers, her voice catching. "Patricia would be so proud of the woman you've become." Outside the preparation room door, I hear the rustle of guests arriving, the low murmur of conversation filling the sanctuary. My chosen family creates a protective buffer between me and the world, filtering messages and visitors with military precision. My cousin Miles knocks softly before entering, his Vietnam veteran's pin gleaming on his lapel. "Nadine's calling relatives," he reports, "spinning stories about you cutting your father out. Nobody's buying it." I smooth my hands over the satin of my skirt. "And Dad?" "Left 3 voicemails about traffic and delays." Miles shakes his head. His excuses are falling flat. People know the truth. A small, fierce satisfaction blooms in my chest. The public perception shifts without me having to say a word. The congregation has drawn its own conclusions. Through the thin walls, I hear Mrs. Landry, my Sunday school teacher from childhood, speaking to another church member. Calvin Mercer, missing his daughter's wedding. Never thought I'd see the day. A lifetime of community observation serves as its own justice. In small towns, people remember. Through the narrow window, I glimpse Silas pacing outside in his best charcoal suit, index cards clutched in his hand. He practices the words he'll say when the minister asks who gives this woman. The wedding coordinator appears with an envelope. "From Colin," she says with a warm smile. Inside, his familiar handwriting fills a cream-colored card. "Today I gain not just a wife, but the privilege of walking beside you through whatever comes. You are never alone." The church organ begins the prelude, its deep notes reverberating through the wooden floors beneath my feet. Time accelerates, compressing months of planning into moments. Then I'm standing at the back of the church, my arm linked through Silas's. His hand covers mine, steady and warm. "Ready?" he asks, his voice rich with emotion. The wooden doors swing open. Sunlight streams through stained glass, creating a pathway of colored light down the center aisle. The congregation rises in a wave of rustling fabric and admiring murmurs. We begin our slow, measured procession. The pearl necklace catches the light with each step, a beacon of chosen connection. Silas walks with military precision, his silver hair and distinguished bearing commanding respect. I scan the faces turned toward me. Longtime family friends sit prominently on my side of the aisle, a silent testament to their allegiance. Colin's relatives welcome guests with genuine warmth, stepping into roles my family abandoned. When we reach the altar, the minister asks the traditional question, "Who gives this woman to be married to this man?" Silas's voice fills the sanctuary, unwavering. "Her family and I do." A ripple of emotion passes through the congregation. Mrs. Landry dabs at her eyes. Miles stands straighter in the front row. These people understand the weight of Silas's words, the beautiful truth of the chosen family. The ceremony unfolds with perfect precision, each tradition honored, each moment meaningful. Colin's hands tremble slightly as he slides the ring onto my finger, his eyes never leaving mine. When the minister pronounces us husband and wife, the church erupts in applause that feels like vindication. At the reception, the celebration continues without a hitch. The father-daughter dance approaches that moment I'd once dreaded. Now Silas steps forward, offering his arm with a slight bow that makes me laugh through happy tears. As we sway to the gentle music, I notice a movement at the back of the reception hall. My father slips in through the side entrance, his face lined with regret as he watches us from the shadows. Our eyes meet across the crowd. I don't miss a step. I don't falter. I continue dancing with the man who honored his promise to stand beside me. The look on my father's face speaks volumes, the dawning realization of what his choices have truly cost him. Several guests notice his arrival, offering cool acknowledgments rather than warm welcomes. "He's here," I murmur to Silas. "Does that change anything for you?" he asks gently. I consider the question as we complete our turn on the dance floor, the pearl necklace warm against my skin. "No," I reply with surprised certainty. "It doesn't change a thing. For the first time, I understand that some absences create space for greater presence. Some betrayals lead to unexpected blessings, And some traditions, when broken, allow new and stronger bonds to form in their place. The music swells around us, and I surrender to the joy of this moment, this perfect wedding, that happened not despite the betrayal, but because it pushed me to create something more authentic than I'd initially planned. Calvin approached me through the swirl of dancing guests, his silver tie slightly askew and his cologne too strong, as if he'd applied an extra dose for courage. The string quartet played softly in the background as guests mingled beneath crystal chandeliers. "I'm here now. Isn't that what matters?" His eyes searched mine for absolution, hands extended in supplication. I clutched my champagne flute tighter, the pearls at my throat suddenly heavy. The reception hall glowed with amber light, casting long shadows across the polished wood floor where Colin and I had shared our first dance as husband and wife without my father present. "The toast," Calvin said, reaching for a glass from a passing server. "I'd like to give the traditional father's toast." A notification lit up my phone screen, Nadine calling again, the 5th time since the ceremony. I silenced it without looking away from my father. "It was just the ceremony," he continued, his voice dropping to that familiar placating tone. "I'm here for the important part." The string quartet transitioned to a waltz, the notes floating through the reception hall like memories of what should have been. Guests swirled around us, their laughter creating a bubble of celebration that excluded the tension between us. "The important part?" I repeated, my voice steady despite the tremor in my hands. "The ceremony where Uncle Silas walked me down the aisle, where he responded, 'Her family and I do,' when asked who gives this woman. That wasn't important to you?" Calvin's jaw tightened as he turned away, approaching my mother's elderly cousin Beatrice. Their conversation carried across the dessert table, his voice rising just enough to be heard. "After everything I've done for her," he said, shaking his head, "to be disrespected like this on what should be a day of family unity." Beatrice's uncertain glance in my direction sent a chill through me. The whispers began, rippling through the elegant reception hall like wind through summer wheat. Aunt Margaret leaning toward Uncle Howard. Cousin Sarah's eyebrows rising as she listened to her husband Robert. The tension threatened to overshadow what had been a perfect ceremony. Colin appeared at my side, his hand warm against the small of my back. "You okay?" Before I could answer, Cousin Miles approached with unexpected purpose in his stride. The Vietnam veteran moved with the deliberate precision that had characterized his military career. His weathered face set in determination beneath silver hair. He intercepted Calvin near the gift table. "Calvin, before you say another word, there's something you need to see." Miles's voice carried the quiet authority of a man who had witnessed far worse confrontations than this. My father's face registered confusion as Miles produced his phone. The band continued playing "What a Wonderful World," while guests circled the dance floor, oblivious to the private drama unfolding in our corner of the reception hall. Miles handed Calvin the phone, his arthritic finger pointing to the screen. "Swipe through. Take your time." I watched my father's expression transform. First confusion, then disbelief, followed by a dawning horror that drained the color from his face. His hands trembled as he scrolled through whatever Miles had shown him. "These are from today," Miles explained, his voice low but carrying to where I stood. "Nadine's big career celebration. Just a casual gathering in her apartment with a few friends. Nothing that couldn't have been moved." Calvin swiped again, his finger moving mechanically. "And these," Miles continued, "are messages from Nadine to Jennifer, explaining how she told you it was a major career event that couldn't be rescheduled." The quartet finished their song, and in the momentary silence before the next, I heard Miles say, "There's more. Years of similar manipulations, Calvin, all documented. Text messages, emails, calendar invitations. All the times Evelyn supposedly asked you not to attend her events. All the times Nadine supposedly couldn't reschedule her own." Nearby guests noticed Calvin's changing expression, the way his shoulders slumped as if the weight of 2 decades of deception had physically manifested. The truth spread quietly through the reception hall, passed in whispers and significant glances. I approached them, the silk of my wedding gown rustling softly against the polished floor. The pearls at my throat caught the light as I moved. Calvin couldn't meet my eyes, his gaze fixed on the damning evidence in his hands. "Family is defined by who stands beside you when it matters," I said, my voice quiet but clear. Calvin opened his mouth, then closed it without speaking. For the first time in my memory, he had no justifications, no excuses. I turned away, moving back toward the dance floor where Colin waited. The weight I'd carried since childhood lifted with each step I took, leaving Calvin to his realization. 20 minutes later, I noticed Calvin slip out of the reception hall. He didn't confront Nadine, didn't make excuses to the guests. He simply left, shoulders hunched beneath his expensive suit jacket. The facade of the devoted father finally shattered beyond repair. Uncle Silas approached, offering his hand for a dance. "You look beautiful, Evelyn. Your mother would be proud." As we moved across the floor, I caught sight of my reflection in the gilded mirrors lining the wall, radiant in white, surrounded by those who truly cared. The pearls gleamed at my throat, a symbol of genuine family bonds that transcended blood. The next morning, Colin and I loaded our suitcases into our car for the honeymoon. Calvin's sedan sat parked across the street from our apartment building, empty. Under our door, we found a handwritten note in my father's precise penmanship. Colin held it up. "Do you want to read it now?" I looked at the folded paper, then at my husband's face, and finally at our packed car waiting to take us to the airport, to Bermuda, to our future. "No," I said, placing the unopened note in my purse. "Not now." As we drove away, I wondered if some betrayals cut too deep for forgiveness, or perhaps forgiveness wasn't about the betrayer at all, but a gift the betrayed give themselves. Either way, that decision could wait until after our honeymoon. For now, I had chosen my family, and they had chosen me. The October sunlight streams through the bay windows of our new Boston home, casting warm patterns across the hardwood floors. I arranged fresh chrysanthemums in a crystal vase that belonged to Colin's grandmother, a wedding gift that now sits proudly on our dining table. 3 months have passed since our wedding day, and the photographs lining our mantel tell the story better than words. Uncle Silas, his eyes shining with pride, walking me down the aisle. The pearl necklace caught the light as I spoke my vows. Colin wraps his arms around my waist, pressing a kiss to my temple. Coffee's ready. I lean back against his solid warmth, savoring the simple morning ritual that has replaced the tension of my previous family dynamics. Perfect timing. We settle at the breakfast nook when the phone rings. My breath catches when I see the caller ID. "Dad," I say, answering with steady hands. Unlike that devastating call 14 weeks ago, I stand tall by the window, looking out at my autumn garden, the mums and asters I planted when we moved in, already establishing roots. "Evelyn." His voice sounds older, worn at the edges. "I was hoping we could talk." I watch a cardinal land on our bird feeder. I'm willing to talk, but on new terms. The following Tuesday, I meet Dad at a neutral coffee shop downtown. The afternoon crowd provides a comfortable buffer as I slide into the booth across from him. His face has new lines I don't remember seeing before. "Thank you for meeting me," he says, hands wrapped around his cup. "I'm setting boundaries, Dad. I'll listen, but I won't accommodate manipulation anymore." He nods slowly. "Miles showed me everything. All these years, I believed what Nadine told me because it was easier." His voice cracks. "I enabled her, and I lost you in the process." I take a measured sip of my tea. Trust isn't rebuilt in one conversation. "I know. I'm just asking for a chance to try." 2 weeks later, I find myself counseling Jenna, a young woman from church whose mother constantly undermines her wedding plans. We sit in my living room as autumn rain taps against the windows. "How do you handle it?" she asks, tears threatening. I remove the pearl necklace from its shadow box. By remembering that family is defined by actions, not blood, I place it in her palm. "Borrow this for your wedding. Let it remind you that you're not alone." Her fingers close around the pearls. "But how did you forgive your father?" "Slowly, on my terms, and only after he proved himself through consistent actions." Thanksgiving brings a house full of chosen family. Silas, carving the turkey with practiced hands. Dorothy arranging her homemade cranberry sauce beside Colin's mother's china. Howard telling stories that make us all laugh until our sides ache. Dad arrives for dessert only, respecting the boundary I've set. As pumpkin pie is served, Silas raises his glass. "To family, those who show up when it matters most." Dad's eyes meet mine across the table, understanding the lesson in those words. When Christmas Eve arrives, snow falls in fat, lazy flakes outside our window. Colin and I have just finished setting the table when the doorbell rings. I open the door to find Dad standing there, snowflakes melting on his shoulders. He holds a small, simply wrapped package. "I'm learning what it means to be family," he says, his voice quiet against the hush of falling snow. I step aside to let him in. The living room wall displays our wedding photos prominently, Silas beaming beside me in my white dress. A smaller photo of Dad at the reception has recently joined them forgiveness without forgetting. Later, as evening settles around our home, Dad and Silas meet for the first time since the wedding. They stand by the fireplace, finding unexpected common ground in stories about their childhoods in Massachusetts. I touch the pearl necklace at my throat, watching these two older men circle cautiously toward friendship. The Christmas lights reflect in each luminous pearl, casting tiny rainbows across my hand. In this moment, I understand completely. Family isn't who you're born to, but who you choose to become with.